Hello, my name is Matthew Delorme, and today I am joined with one of the community knowledge keepers of Cowessess First Nation to learn a little bit of our history and stories. And I'd like to welcome.
Counselor Malcolm Delorme.
So today we have some questions about personal experiences, community and culture, and economic and social changes. So for my first questions, it will be personal experiences. So number one, can you tell me about your earliest memories on the reserve?
On reserve, they were good. I moved home in 1973, and I worked for the nation in carpentry, and they were good years. And then back in the early 80s, I put my name in for leadership, and I'm still sitting here today. I put in. I think if when this term's over, it'll be 26 years.
You're doing something, right?
Yeah, and it's been quite an experience in my lifetime being
Yeah.
out here.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say in the beginning of the thing. I was going to say the myth, the man, the legend.
Yeah, yeah.
So for the second one is how has life on the reservation changed since you were a child?
Oh, it's changed lots. When it comes back to families and stuff. When I was young, it was home and school and boarding school. And so that was quite the experience there, and just with the way the boarding schools were set up, and you were, you know, go to bed at 6:30 in the evening when it's still light out. But after that, it worked its way out.
So back in the day, you say boarding school. Was it day school or was it residential school?
It was
It
residential
was
school. I
residential
was there
school.
for 7 years, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, and then boarding day scholar after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what traditional practices or customs did your family follow when you were growing up?
My family side was more or less the Catholic side. I really didn't have too much to do with First Nations sweats and
Yeah.
healings, and my mother was heavy Catholic. Like I lost my dad when I was maybe 5. So I grew up with my mother raising the family, and it was all Catholic. If there's a big storm coming, she'd be sprinkling holy water on the doors and on the windows.
I didn't know that. I didn't know they did
Yeah,
that. Wow. So just like us when we smudge as soon as the storm comes, we just smudge the house right away and
yeah,
oh
yeah.
wow. So that was my three questions for personal experience, and my next one would be community and culture. What can you share about the traditional ceremonies and celebrations in your community?
What can I share about them? I think they've improved from the 1900s, I'll say. When it comes to culture and stuff. Yeah, we're bringing a lot of that back for the kids.
Yeah, for the
The
youth.
younger kids, and I guess if you want to teach them their language and their culture, you have to start them at a young age.
Yeah.
And so today is good because we hold our traditional powwows. It ain't a competition powwow.
Yeah.
It's all traditional powwow, and
Yeah, and everybody's there for the culture and the family.
everybody's there for the family and visiting, and the culture. And that's good about traditional powwows. It's not competition. You're
Yeah.
not you're not competing. Come a long ways.
Wow, that's awesome. So how have the culture practices been preserved or changed over the years?
I guess like I said, it's the teachings now. Where you start right from when you're in school, you start learning about that. Like I always say, like my generation, like I mentioned, my mother, raised me as a Catholic. So I really wasn't involved with culture stuff, or how to speak your language. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was good.
Wow. So my third question would be are there any particular stories or legends that were important in your community back then?
Yeah, you talk about legends and stuff, and you hear a lot of story of the olden days where you fend for yourself and all that, and the stories are all good. I really don't know too many stories, but you know, my grandfathers or father even, which I grew up without one, so I'm really not too familiar with too many legends besides the old Copel Valley legend where pretty well everybody knew, where this this couple are together, and then the hunter goes out hunting and he disappears in the valley there, and that's where the legend comes from.
Oh,
Where
really?
the Copel Valley, and they said his wife would go out pretty well every night for maybe a year or so, and yell, Copel, because that was his name at the
Yeah.
time, I guess,
Huh.
and that's kind of like what I was told how
Oh,
the
wow.
Copel Valley was sort of
Yeah.
named.
That's yeah, I never heard of that one before. We have to look more into that one. That's pretty interesting. I always heard of one like there's one story I heard there was they always said that there was something in Crooked Lake. That there was always like some kind of creature in Crooked Lake.
Yeah, I heard that story too growing up here, whereas they came out and apparently they even had the divers out there once and they were going to do something with the lake, but
Yeah.
from what I was told, they seen something down there and left and never came back. So who knows what they seen, eh?
Yeah. That's awesome. So the next part is economic and social changes. How has the economic situation on the reserve evolved over the years?
Oh, over the years, it really involved, as far as I'm concerned. Like I talked back in the days there when I moved home. It was tough going. If there was a job, you took it. And like I even said, like when I ran for council, there was 12 councillors in the chambers that time and one chief, and as counselors, you still had a day job,
Yeah.
and if you had a meeting, then you'd have to take that day off, and you'd get a little per diem, $100 per diem,
Yeah.
So nowadays, it's a total different change from the early '80s when I got involved in politics, and one of the reasons was, I can't think of his name. Anyway, how I got involved was one of the elders. I picked him up on the road walking home one day, and Mushroom, I said, Mushroom Martin Delorme. I said, Mushroom, where are you walking to? He said, oh, I'm just going home. Okay, I said, get in, I'll drive you home. You shouldn't be walking. And he said, well, I just come from the old school. He said it was nominations day. And I told him, nominations day? Yeah. He said, were you nominated, Malcolm? I said, no, I'm not interested in politics. I said, I'm a carpenter and I'll probably be that all my life. And this mushroom told me, turn around, I'm going to nominate you today, he said. And, well, I don't have a seconder. I'll find you one. So that's how I got messed up in
Wow.
politics.
And that day you got in.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you said back in the day, you said chief and council had jobs back in the day.
Yeah.
It's so from then to now, it's with how the world has changed with technology and all that, and with our youth and all that. It's a full time job now with chief and council, right? And like
Yeah, I guess nowadays you get all the funding you need, more or less, say,
yeah,
when it comes to that. Like I said back in the day, you still had your day job, and you got called for meetings, you get $100.
yeah,
And it was good too, but today, now, there's so much money coming around now, I guess, that you're paid as a full-time
yeah.
worker
Yeah,
as
cause
a counselor.
yeah, cause like when you look into the thing, it says once you get into chief or council, you have to step away from your former job and that, and
Well, yeah, you should do that. As you know, it's even accepting another job out
Yeah.
on the reserve where you're a counselor. You know, to me, if you run for council, that's what you ran for, not
Yeah.
to I guess they call it double dip.
The double dipping, yeah.
You know, I think you have to think a lot about that
Yeah.
when you run for council.
Yeah. It's amazing how chief and council ran way back in the day. How like it was they would go to only like 1 to 2 meetings a month, and then they go back to their regular job.
Yeah, and if you went to FSI assembly, you more or less had to catch a ride.
But all the reserves
Yeah.
carpooling together, the chief
Yeah,
and
yeah,
council.
I've lived all that through all. Like, you know, what people have to realize is I'm on my fourth chief now as a leader. Eh?
Oh
I
wow,
was in
yeah,
there with Chief Kenny Sparvey, you know, deceased, you know,
yeah,
rest his soul. I was in there with Terry LaValle, you know, Chief Terry LaValle,
yeah,
rest his soul. Um, then I did years with Cadmus, you
yeah.
know, 7 years, I believe. And then
Yeah.
now I'm in with Erica
That's
Bowden as chief, you know, and they all run their positions all different.
yo. They all yeah. I
Yeah,
bet.
so I'm on my fourth chief now.
So they all had their own little how do you say it their own
Their
ways.
own ways
Yeah.
to run and be a leader, say,
Yeah.
you know.
So my second question would be is what kind of jobs or industries have been most common in the reservation?
On the nation right here, you know, the most common jobs are like housing, you know. We're always we're always for housing, you know, and then back in the 70s maybe when the golf course opened, you know, those were the main jobs,
Yeah.
the construction and the golf course.
That's amazing. And with us being on Cowessess, we're a pretty big band. Like with the amount of people we have on reserve, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think when I first come in, maybe there's, I don't know, 22, 2,500, and now we're sitting at 4,500, or just about
Uh,
4,500. We're up to 40, just about 4,500, I
wow.
believe.
And so with that, where do we stand? Like, say with on reserve members, like, do you think we're in the top five in Saskatchewan? What's band members living on reserve?
On reserve, I think out of the 4,500 or so here, I think we got about maybe 850, 900 on reserve.
That's lots.
Yeah, and you know, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is when you get the funding and stuff,
Yeah.
you know, the head count is on reserve,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
and that's,
there's totally different
yeah,
from on and off.
totally
And
different,
yeah.
yeah, and people don't understand that.
Yeah. So how have the social structures within the community changed?
Social structures, yeah, from back in the day there, you know, it was, it's all messed up nowadays as far as I'm concerned, you know, when it comes to drugs and alcohol, you
Yeah,
know.
it's big time.
It's totally bad. You know, back in the day, it was just alcohol and weed.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's you know it's terrible. You know,
Yeah, there's
and how
always
the families work together. You know, back in the day, your parents were the parents, and you know they disciplined you. And
yeah.
today, you know, a kid you see kids hitting their parents. You
Yeah.
know, and that's not right at
No, it's
all.
not. And if the
But
parents
what
try
do
to
you,
hit,
yeah, what do you do with the government? It's the government that put us where we are today.
yeah.
And actually, I told 5 government officials years ago in one meeting, you are the reason our kids are getting where they are today. You know,
Yeah,
just,
giving them all the freedom
yeah,
overall, because like,
yeah, you know, if you discipline them and spank them, well, there's a number to call here.
yeah,
You know, call us and we'll take care of them.
yeah, child abuse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a big difference.
That's how I always tell my kids and my nephews and that like way back in the day like with me and my brothers and sisters and that like if we acted up or anything we got put in our place.
Yeah, there is nothing wrong with a little. Yeah, there's spanking you to discipline you,
Yeah.
and there's beating you.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
different in that. Yeah.
And like and back in the day, the kids were outside more. There wasn't as much technology like me growing up. I was outside till like 10, 11, and I'd be playing out there from morning till night.
Yeah, outside was the thing back in the
Yeah.
day. You know, like I laugh nowadays today, like if you ever come by my yard, I got a big swing set and teeter totter and that thing that's
Oh, really? Oh, merry-go-round. Really?
merry-go-round. And when my grandkids come home nowadays, you look outside and nothing's being used out there. They're all sitting on the couch on their phones.
iPads and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my next one would be education and language. What was your experience with the education on or off the reservation?
Well, my education ain't like I ain't like I said, I grew up in boarding school,
Yeah.
and then I was sent off to reserve for a little education in the city, and out of control kid when you're 14-year-old and sent to the city. So my education ain't the best, but that's the way it goes, and like I sit here as leadership, and I'm not the smartest in there, but a lot of education nowadays is PhDs
Yeah.
and grade 12. Well, as far as I'm concerned, you don't need all that to be a good leader. You have to know how to treat people and respect people, and
Life experiences
yeah,
and all that.
and you have to. A lot of the dealing that you do is common sense.
Yeah.
That's where I come out of.
Yeah. A lot of respect in that,
Yeah.
and yeah.
You respect the baby. You introduce yourself to babies. You introduce yourself to older people that you don't know. And you high-five all the kids. Rather than
Yeah.
just walk by them.
Yeah, not ignore them. Yeah.
Yeah.
What efforts have been made to preserve and teach the native language on the reserve?
Well, through the schools, and through now, which is a good thing, is with Chief Red Bear Lodge.
Oh, yeah.
They have all the camps and the teachers there for Cree, Soto, whatever they wanna. The teachings are there now, whereas years ago, you just all what people have today, we didn't have back in the day. Where to go, and all
Yeah, all the transportations
yeah.
nowadays and all that, and just like with us on the radio station, we do daily Cree words. We do the top 10 food or food, drinks, or
Yeah.
animals words. Yeah,
Yeah, lots of teaching out there now that if you look for it, like Andrew Starblanket at the school, he's the vice principal down there, is, what do you say, like with his talk Cree language, and I feel lucky to have him as a
yeah, as a
as
vice
a
principal.
kind of stepson, I guess,
Oh wow,
and
yeah,
you know, he, I think now, he's got two little kids there. They're gonna grow up speaking their language
yeah,
and doing their drum songs, and
wow,
that's the way everybody should have grew up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my next one would be hopes and concerns. What are your hopes for the future of the reservation and its people?
My hopes for the future are sort of like self employment, and people have to start doing stuff for themselves, helping themselves.
Yeah,
There's a lot of funding stuff out there and a lot of teachings. That nowadays there's everything out there,
yeah,
whereas back in my day there was, when you turned 16, you either stayed in the school or kicked out to work. And nowadays, like, man, there's so much opportunities for the young people, if they just take advantage of them, and a lot of the thing that happens now is, our people are spoiled when it comes to jobs. It's
yeah.
it's nice to say there's no jobs, but
There's lots.
there's
Yeah.
lots of jobs. Like my son moved to Regina there 10 years ago, and he applied for 5 jobs, and
Yeah.
he's
Wow.
still working in that one spot today.